My name is Brett Pedersen. I go by the artist name of Brett usually, or sometimes I just use a B. And I'm presenting really one piece of art today, because that's kind of how Mr. Wilson likes to do it, is you present this one piece. These are kind of background pieces. And what I really kind of want to talk about, as much as the pieces, is the medium that I use, which are called Conte crayons. And these are Conte crayons here. This is one of the little boxes they come in. That's 18 colors. They also come in sets of 24 and 48. And apparently in France, these come directly from Paris, and they come in like, sort of a cute little jewelry box when you get it with a little bow on it, and then you open it up, and it's, instead of a, a beautiful Chanel necklace or whatever, it's almost as good. They were developed in 1795 by a fellow named Conte, and they're called Conte crayons, but they're not wax like our school crayons. They're actually, they were invented in response to a shortage of graphite during the Napoleonic Wars, because he was using the graphite, I think, for flintlocks and various weaponry. And so putting the artists out of business as war usually does. And they're made out of like either a compressed graphite, so a small amount, or compressed charcoal mixed with a wax or clay base. And probably, I like to think of myself as probably the greatest Conte crayon artist of all time. And the previous greatest one was probably George Seurat. And George did some fantastic Conte crayon drawings. And of course, he uses his revolutionary style of pointillism in the drawings themselves. They were done, I think mostly 1881, 1890, up into the early 20th century. And I'm going to leave this out for anyone if they want to look at Seurat's Conte drawings. And he did them mostly in like one or two colors. And obviously I've used the whole palette with mine. This one is, I'm just going to this is what I'm going to talk about briefly. This one right here is a copy, it's a design of a Kandinsky, a Vasily Kandinsky painting from about 1939, which is this one. And you can see, I think, the design only from Kandinsky's larger oil painting. I mean, his oil painting, I'm not sure certainly the size of this, probably something like 3 feet by 4 feet though. So this one's considerably smaller, obviously, so like 11 by 14. And I've been studying Picasso, so like the bull thing came up, and I just decided to put a bull in. That was the first bull. And this was obviously a third eye type of painting, a friend of mine. And this was something that was done, this is a version of a Chagall painting. Marc Chagall has this painting of a guy. This is the guy. It's in black and white, actually, or gray and white. And it says, like, "Oh God" on the side. Because apparently he was Russian. And in Russia, apparently, there's a saying, which you've heard in our culture as well, where it's, "she turned his head." And so when he met his wife, Bella, they were both quite young, and he just fell madly in love with her. And he probably fell in love with her when he was about 20, early 20s, and he died like 98 years old. He was still painting her when he died. Like the day before he died, he was painting her, even though she died like in 1949.
Yeah, he actually makes it 100. I remember reading that. That's amazing.
Yeah, and he was painting her until the very end, and she died unfortunately young during World War II. She got a disease and died, which is sad. He lived on another, almost 50 years after that. And so that's my Chagall guy. And I put her, because my friend Erin here, as beautiful as she is, she actually looks this good, believe it or not. She's always going like, "No one's ever going to marry me, like no one loves me," and all this stuff. And I keep saying, look for, so I made a painting called Erin's Husband, an actual painting. And I put him as her husband and said, "Look for the guy that you turn his head." And that'll be the guy. And then so we have a little church. She's kind of Christian, so I put a little church in the background for her there. And the Bluebird of Happiness, which is another one I made for her and gave it. So that's just random. But this was the one actually I wanted to present for real. I went down to Monterey about a month ago, right before school started, and I wanted to draw a butterfly. I hadn't been doing any drawings. I'd just been painting the whole year. No, hardly any drawings, just a handful. And I thought, well, I want to draw a butterfly since I'm down in Monterey. And so I didn't do it. I came home, but I still had my butterfly stuff to look at out of a book that I found. And so I took out my Conte crayons after I did. I think I might have done this one first, actually. Yeah, I'm quite sure, actually. So this was my first Conte crayon I ever did. And my buddy John turned me onto these like a year ago and said, you got to draw with this stuff. And I never did until recently. And I made the butterfly, and it was just going to be a postcard. I was going to send it to my ex-girlfriend here and as a little souvenir, but it was just a postcard, you know. I was thinking, oh, I'll put in a postcard. It'll be cool, you know, butterfly postcard, and you can open it up like it's wings. And then when I drew it, I said, damn, that's pretty good. I'm going to do, you know, I wanted to do something more with it rather than just send it to her in an envelope. So I had a picture of her, which I wanted to paint, and so I drew it instead, and that's really a pretty good likeness of her. And then we both live down in Alameda, and so the background is kind of, so my composition was like I had the butterfly, and I said, well, I'm going to put her in it instead of send it to her. So I thought, okay, so I had room, and I put her in it, because I just had this butterfly on a big piece of paper, you know. And then this scene is kind of the beach by our house in Alameda. You know, you can see the bay right behind us, and then in the distant hills, these are like, you see the hills that are like San Bruno and down that, you know, Pacifica direction down by the airport, actually. And then I thought it was missing something, so I put the sun in, which is a current, you know, common motif for me. This one's obviously sunny. This is sunny. I wanted to put the sun in that, actually, and I just didn't have room. So, but I do like to draw the sun, particularly sun gazing is something I've done a lot of, and I really like it, and I really love it, and I love to put it in my drawings. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these, just a rough piece of paper up here along with my Seurat, and if you guys feel like checking it out, because it is a unique medium, and these are expensive, actually. They cost, this box is really super cheap for 20 bucks. If you get a larger set, like 24, costs you about maybe $40, and the 48 color set costs about $80. So they are expensive, but they last quite well, and you can draw with them, you know, like this, like a pencil, or you can turn them over and like shade, like see how I shaded the sun out right there? Made it yellow. That's how I did that, just like that. And it just really come out well. And what I do is I'll make a line drawing underneath it and then color it. So that's kind of my method on that. So that's my presentation, and the names, this is called Butterfly and Princess.